today as President Trump prepares for a high-stakes meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Anchorage, Alaska. Erica Brown has more from the White House.
One day after President Trump announced a federal takeover of Washington's police department and activated 800 National Guard troops, the White House says there are already signs of success.
Last night, approximately 850 officers and agents were surged across the city. They made a total of 23 arrests. A total of 6 illegal handguns were seized off of District of Columbia streets as part of last night's effort. This is only the beginning.
On Tuesday morning, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser met with Attorney General Pam Bondi to discuss coordination and strategy as more troops are deployed.
What I'm focused on is the federal surge and how to make the most of the additional officer support that we have.
Among those who have spoken out against the National Guard mobilization in Washington, former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, who call the move a political distraction. The Guard deployment comes as the president continues to prepare for Friday's face-to-face meeting in Alaska with Russian President Vladimir Putin. President Trump is pushing for an end to the war in Ukraine, but as of now, the talks will not include Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.
So the president is agreeing to this meeting at the request of President Putin. And the goal of this meeting for the president is to walk away with a better understanding of how we can end this war.
White House officials say the president is open to a trilateral meeting that will include President Zelensky in the future. He's expressed skepticism about Friday's talks, maintaining Putin has no intention of ending the war. Sharing a new Ukrainian intelligence report, Zelensky wrote that Russia is redeploying troops and forces in ways that suggest preparations for new offensive operations. Erica Brown, CBS News, the White House.
Happening now on the Big Island, firefighters continue to battle a blaze on the east slope of Mauna Kea. The wildfire sparked yesterday near Mauna Road and has scorched about 20 acres so far. Mauna Road is closed as state and federal crews work to contain the fire, but Mauna Kea Access Road has reopened. The Mauna Kea Visitor Center is also closed. We'll pass along any updates as we get them. Here on Oahu, Hawaiian Telecom says some of their customers may be having some service problems because of fiber lines that were damaged in yesterday's fire in Kunia. The blaze at the time shut down lanes of Kunia Road at around 6:30 last night. Some drivers we spoke to say they were stuck in gridlock for about 3 hours. No evacuations were needed and the road has since reopened. At 8:30 last night, HFD said the blaze burned about 20 acres and was 85% contained. The suspect in an armed robbery in Palolo has been arrested. HPD says a 43-year-old male was arrested just before midnight last night for robbery in the first degree. The incident happened on Sunday just after noon at a home on Waiomau Road. Police say the 76-year-old victim reported the unknown male entered his house, held a gun to his head, and demanded money before fleeing. Well, Honolulu police are looking for a trio of suspects wanted in a drive-by shooting near Pearl Harbor. 4 males, one as young as 15 years old, were allegedly targeted. Now that happened just before 6 a.m. as the group waited at a bus stop on Kamehameha Highway near Kohumua Street. There, police say a white truck pulled up carrying 3 people in ski masks and shots were fired in the air. We're told the gun was then pointed at the group and fired multiple times. Thankfully, no one was hit by the gunfire and the suspects drove off. If you have any tips on this, call Crime Stoppers at the number on your screen. And the suspect in that shocking acid attack in Chinatown over the weekend is still on the run. Police say the 30-year-old victim was walking near the intersection of Hotel and Smith Streets Friday night when a man threw sulfuric acid in his face. The victim is in serious but stable condition and has been unable to speak because of his injuries. But it's believed that he and the suspect did not know each other. HPD's been canvassing the area for witnesses and surveillance video. The suspect is described as 6 feet tall, wearing a black do-rag, a gray short-sleeve shirt, light-colored shorts, and blue athletic shoes. Call Crime Stoppers if you have any tips that could help. Meanwhile, UH Manoa's Department of Public Safety is reporting a sex assault incident that happened on campus. At around 1:30 p.m. Monday, officials say a woman, a UH graduate, was groped from behind near the lower campus entrance as she walked on Waialae Avenue. The suspect is described as a man in his 20s or 30s, around 5'5", and he was wearing a sleeveless gray shirt and basketball shoes without laces. If you have any information, again, please call police. Los Angeles Dodgers star Shohei Ohtani is being sued by a Hawaii real estate investor and broker who says he sabotaged a $240 million real estate project on the Big Island. The lawsuit claims the pair brought Ohtani in to endorse the luxury housing development on the Hapuna coast, but that he and his agent got them fired after they wouldn't meet Ohtani's demands. The developers claim Ohtani abused his celebrity status to get their business partner to remove them from the deal. Authorities in Georgia are sharing new details on the investigation into the deadly shooting at the CDC on Friday. Some agency staff who spoke to CBS News anonymously are now blaming rampant misinformation for the attack. Skylar Henry reports from Atlanta.
With calls growing at the CDC for better security,
It's just so hard to see the bullet holes right now.
officials with the Georgia Bureau of Investigation spoke publicly about their investigation into Friday's deadly shooting on the agency's Atlanta campus.
The shooter had recently verbalized thoughts of suicide, which even led to law enforcement being contacted several weeks prior to the incident.
Authorities say the gunman, identified as 30-year-old Patrick White, fired close to 200 shots at multiple buildings, shattering nearly 150 blast-resistant windows from a pharmacy nearby. On Tuesday, officials released audio from a 911 call from the shooter's father.
I don't know if he was involved. I need some help.
CBS News medical contributor Dr. Celine Gounder spoke with 4 CDC staffers who were there during the attack. They asked not to be identified due to agency policy, but called out Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy, who visited the campus Monday.
He's called CDC a cesspool. He has, quite frankly, dehumanized all of us who work at CDC.
Investigators are looking into theories the shooter believed the COVID-19 vaccines had made him sick.
A search warrant executed at the residence of the shooter revealed written documentation that expressed the shooter's discontent with the COVID-19 vaccinations.
While no one at the CDC was injured, 33-year-old DeKalb County police officer David Rose was killed. Police say the shooter died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. They recovered 5 firearms from the scene. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Atlanta.
An influential GOP congresswoman is criticizing Honolulu's rail project just as the city breaks ground on construction for the final stretch into Kaka'ako. Daryl Huff tells us how rail leaders are trying to hang on to their federal funding.
As contractor Tudor Perini began excavating a 100-foot test shaft in Kaka'ako, Honolulu's rail project was taking another hit in Washington. Iowa Republican Senator Joni Ernst labeling it a boondoggle in paradise, comparing it to the massively troubled California high-speed rail.
But we've also found a similar project in Hawaii that is way over the time of completion, way over budget.
The senator published a report called Off the Rails, with Honolulu's project criticized for being nearly 100% over budget, for false promises, missed deadlines, and low ridership. She wants all troubled projects reviewed.
And then we can discuss, do we need to fund these projects any further, or are they going to continue to drain our federal coffers?
So there's always concern, right? The current administration, they can do what they feel is best for the country, for the taxpayers, and I don't blame them.
Honolulu's project did have its federal payments suspended until the feds agreed to a strict process of releasing the funds. Of the $1.55 billion committed to the project, HART has already received more than $1 billion, with $369 million promised if it meets deadlines, like opening the airport segment in October and getting utilities relocated in Kalihi.
I hope this new administration sees that we're different. We've met every milestone that the FTA has put on us that is in our FFGA, so hopefully they don't take the remaining tranches away from us.
Today's groundbreaking marks the latest milestone, a $1.66 billion contract for the last 3 miles and 6 stations.
All of these hands have done amazing work to get us to this point.
What's unusual about this groundbreaking is that it didn't happen at the beginning of a project, but at the end. It will take the contractor another 4 years to get to this point.
It's the site that we selected when we went to the FTA and sold our recovery plan and said, look, we don't have enough money to get to Moana, but we know how far we can get, and this is where we can get it. And they seem to understand that.
The contractor plans to start its guideway work in Iwilei and work back toward Kaka'ako. Kalihi, where utilities are still being relocated, will be the final stage.
We're going to do our best. You know, these are tough projects. They'll have their share of issues, but we've already realized with their team and our team, we're here to work them out.
Full operation is scheduled for 2031. Reporting from Kaka'ako, Daryl Huff, Hawaii News Now.
All right, well, happy Tuesday, everybody. I want to take you outside to show you what's on our live tower cam. It's pretty warm, pretty toasty out there. We're seeing temperatures around 85 degrees. You might notice a little bit of cloud cover out there. We're actually seeing some sprinkles over on the windward side of the island earlier today, but we're going to be seeing fair weather as we're going throughout the rest of today. Still a little bit breezy in the afternoon. The trades are set to get weaker again on Thursday and Friday, and then rebound once again as we're going into the weekend. Here's a quick look at our first alert radar and satellite. You can see those pockets of clouds moving in. The overall trade wind flow of the clouds. You can see also as we're zooming in towards Oahu, we've got some sprinkles along the Ko'olau and also along the leeward parts of the island. I'll give you a full breakdown of what you can expect throughout the rest of this week coming up.
Thank you, Drew. Now to an update on that boat that got stuck in Kewalo Basin over the weekend. The Coast Guard says crews will try to remove it early next week. Salvors have tried to refloat the yacht, but that hasn't worked because water seeped into the vessel. Atlantis Adventures owns the boat and confirmed it was able to remove all of its fuel and oil. The 75-foot shuttle boat got stuck on Saturday morning after it was picked up by a wave.
The area is an active area or an active work site. So I know there's always interest in folks going down there to see what's going on, but I would just urge people to please give the salvors some room and some space.
Atlantis called off tours in Waikiki because of ocean conditions, but plans to resume today if those improve. There have been no reports of pollution or sheening. Well, head on This Is Now. Casey Lund has an update on efforts to revitalize downtown Honolulu. Plus this.
The latest inflation report comes in better than expected. I'm Kelly O'Grady at the New York Stock Exchange with a look inside the numbers.
A new business improvement district could bring big changes to downtown Honolulu. From cleaner streets to tightened security, city leaders are hoping it could breathe new life into the area. Casey Lund has the details from downtown.
Aloha from Fort Street, the farmers market here, part of the economic activity that these initiatives are really hoping to spur, right? This is Bill 51 before the City Council. It would eventually, if passed, create about $1.9 million annually that would go into a business improvement district, and those business owners get a say in how that money's spent, whether it's power washing the streets, increased security, things like that. It's their money. They kind of collectively get to decide how it gets used. So we're getting the word out about a business meeting, a meeting for those businesses, I should say, 12:30 today here at the old Walmart, which is now Pickles at Forte. And, you know, I'm with Tyler Dos Santos Tam, a city councilman. That's a great example of things that are kind of coming back to life here.
Exactly, and the problems that we face downtown, you know, a lot of the businesses closing down after COVID, the response is now we need to encourage more businesses to come up, and that means supporting them through events, through activating the street, and getting more residents also to come down to downtown.
And so you want folks to come out today, and then residents can come out on Thursday to get a little bit more information at 5:30?
Yes, Thursday at 5:30 and then today at 12:30. This is the opportunity to learn more about the proposal for the Business Improvement District and also share your input on things you'd like to see in our downtown.
And then, to be clear, though, it's the businesses, the people that own properties, own businesses down here that would be paying into that.
Yes, the Business Improvement District is just the non-residential properties downtown, so big office buildings and some of the smaller properties as well.
Quick question for you, if we can pan over here, too, while I've got you down here, and since you know things that are going on in your district, I assume, what is going on with this Ross building, and do we know about anything that might be going in there?
Yeah, so in the Ross, they're hoping to have some events and kind of make it an event space for the time being. In the former Long's right next door, there's going to be a Korean supermarket pretty soon that I'm excited about. It's going to bring a lot more attention and, you know, a lot more patrons into the area.
You know, we've seen a lot of improvement in downtown, in Chinatown, those added police cameras, the square there that they just redid. So a lot of things, good things coming our way again. Today at 12:30, the meeting for businesses that would be involved with this, and then 5:30 on Thursday. I want to thank Councilman Tyler Dos Santos Tam for being with us today. We'll send things back into the studio for now.
Thank you, Case. And a report shows the inflation rate remains steady in July, but there are worries that could change as tariffs start to have a wider impact on the economy. Kelly O'Grady reports from the New York Stock Exchange.
Summer road trips are a little more affordable, with gas prices down 30 cents a gallon from last year. And food inflation improved slightly in July, but staples like eggs and beef continue to see price increases because of shortages for both. Overall inflation remains steady at 2.7%. However, when you strip away gas and food, the core rate ticked up to 3.1%. Tariffs on foreign imports impacted prices for a few items like furniture and tools. Economists believe that will change.
What we do know is a lot of businesses are eating those smaller increases that they saw in the first few months of tariffs. I think towards the end of the year, they're going to start passing along those increases to consumers.
Sunrise Artisan Bath & Body in Columbia, South Carolina, sells products made with imported fragrances and essential oils from Europe, which are now being hit by tariffs.
The cost for ingredients for me went up by 15%.
Owner Tazima Brown says she'll have to raise prices.
Well, I've got to figure out how I'm going to pass that on to my customer. So it could be a situation where I'll eat 7% or 8%, and my customer now has to pay 7% more.
Now, here at the New York Stock Exchange, investors are hopeful that this latest inflation report, taken with that weaker than expected July jobs report, will encourage the Federal Reserve to cut interest rates. Now, that board will meet next in September. Kelly O'Grady, CBS News, New York.
And the trade winds have slightly returned today. A little bit breezy over in Maui right now. We're going to see weaker winds on Thursday and Friday and breezy conditions over the weekend. The details coming up.
weather with Drew Davis.
All right, well, happy Tuesday, everybody. Let's take a look at our first alert weather graphics. Of course, we're watching a little bit of humid weather over the next couple of days, a slight return of the trade winds out there, weaker winds on Thursday and Friday because a weak low pressure system will be getting closer to us, and also the high surf that we've been seeing is on the decline. Let's just take a look at our temperatures across the state. This is the temperatures and the heat index. So it's 85 in town right now, but it feels like 90 degrees because of how humid and how muggy it is across the island chain. And you can see that's a similar story across the entire state. It feels like 92 in Kona, 91 in Kahului, so very humid out there. Of course, the reason for the humidity is because of what was Hurricane Henriette. It's right here. It's a tropical storm now, and it's going to continue moving off towards the northwest, falling apart as it gets into the cooler waters of the northern Pacific. Again, the waters up there are warmer than average for this time of year, allowing it to actually re-strengthen to a hurricane as it went to our north, and it did cut us off from the trade wind flow for a little bit. But we've got trade winds back. Overall east northeasterly flow, 15 mile per hour winds in town right now. Northeasterly winds in Kahului around 28 miles per hour. So still a little bit breezy out there in spots, especially areas just downwind of the mountains. You can see in our first alert windcast going forward throughout the rest of this afternoon between 10 to 15 miles per hour. A similar story on Wednesday, but we are expecting winds to get slightly weaker on Thursday and Friday, maybe even a little bit more easterly as we're going into the back half of this week. Of course, a look at our Keach-Byram Drought Index. This is a variable that's measured every day at the airports. Just a way to measure how dry the brush is across the state. It really gives us a good, clear picture of how critical the fire danger is. Today, we were measured at 646. The average for this time of year, 613. We're ahead of schedule for how dry we are out there. And 600 being the number that the National Weather Service starts to issue red flag warnings. So if we get windy enough going into next week, it's potential that we could see some more red flag warnings and fire danger will be elevated. Our surf and shoreline forecast, northwest, south, and east facing shores all on the decline. This is for this afternoon, around a 4 to 6 for south facing shores. And you can see in our swell forecast as we're going forward, a little bit of east swell out there. And then, of course, another south facing swell is going to be moving in as we're going into this weekend. Not as large as what we were seeing over the past couple of days. Mahalo to Tim for sending in that photo of Hilo. Tuesday and Wednesday, a lot of sunshine out there. Statehood Day on Friday. Breezy conditions return on Saturday and Sunday.
Thank you, Drew. Still to come, a law enforcement canine who was injured on the job has found a new career protecting bees. We'll explain in 2 minutes. Oahu households can now get fresh 100% local milk again, thanks to FarmLink Hawaii and Metagold's Island Fresh Milk. The milk comes from cows raised on Hawaii Island and is processed locally in Hilo. This marks the first time since 2018 that fully local milk is available on Oahu, supporting local farmers and reducing reliance on imports. FarmLink Hawaii continues to expand its lineup of over 600 local products, helping strengthen the island's food system.
I'm going to the grocery store right after this.
Well, a former sheriff's canine has a new mission.
Her job is to maintain law and order in our ecosystem. Maple's career in law enforcement ended with an injury last year, but the 9-year-old English Springer Spaniel is still armed with a keen sense of smell, and she's using it to protect one of nature's most important pollinators. Researchers at Michigan State University enlisted Maple to sniff out a disease that threatens honeybees. The honeybee population has declined significantly over the years because of this disease, climate change, and insecticides. Approximately 1/3 of the human diet comes from plants pollinated by bees. Protect the bees, everybody.
That outfit is adorable.
Yeah, I never thought I'd see a dog beekeeper suit.
Well, now you have.
Now I have.
Thanks for watching, everyone. More news first at 4 right here on KHNL.
Aloha.